the first to know in Nsem-Pii TV.
We all know that the former finance minister, Kenneth Ofori Atta, was officially placed on Interpol's red notice list, initiated by the Office of the Special Prosecutor, following the former minister's failure to return to Ghana for questioning in connection with investigations into questionable transactions during his tenure of office as the finance minister. Now, as we speak now, news are a free Interpol for no akate eba and say one a withdraw Ken Ofori Atta free red notice no eso. Say Ken Ofori Atta yemfa into Interpol for red notice list no eso bio. Na ne nyina ene say Ken Ofori Atta lawyers, according to report no e say one akwa some argument bi ewo eho a omo che say e kwan a OSP no efa so Emma ye di omo clients Ken Ofori Atta eba beto Interpol for red notice list no so no eye ade bia or abuse eye omo clients Ken Ofori Atta human right. Why? Because Emma Ken Ofori Atta efeli say oba be piemu o man Ghana mu ha for search questions no in connection to the investigations and na course no na Ken Ofori Atta lawyers edin kan atro dia bre chief of staff ama even when bia ko OSP no akasa office ho a kire say omo client Ken Ofori Atta jare ayede no ekwakoye surgery ewo amanone eno nti ontimi ma be piemu o man Ghana mu ha on the third date na OSP no ehwehwe no na OSP just asem yantum ekoso ema on 2nd June, that was on Monday, and our OSP emra oye press conference or they to o man anim nyina say wa maye di Ken Ofori Atta ato Interpol for red notice eso, meaning Ken Ofori Atta wanted na eno ne upon challenges Ken Ofori Atta lawyers aye nyina no omo de aba say OSP kisi ajaben kwa afa so emede omo client Ken Ofori Atta eto so no eto red notice list no so no ade bia na etia emrenti enne Interpol for AG Ken Ofori Atta efi omo red notice list no eso to say Ken Ofori Atta is no more wanted as it stands now. Now, in a statement shared by persons close to the former minister's legal team no anomo ka say omo entimi and disclose the reasons ni na ema Interpol for take actions no. Nemo, it marks a return from the court of public opinion to a courtroom where evidence, not headlines, matters. It is this time around omo per se OSP no echo court than say obeba public opinion na oba press conference na oba disgrace omo client which is Ken Ofori Atta. So as it stands now, Ken Ofori Atta is no more wanted according to the news coming from the Interpol for no.
Lawyers don't go to court without preparation. So I believe that whatever charge you put there, you should be able to prove them beyond reasonable doubt. So let them have their day in court. Let's see what happened. Lawyers have told us that yes, you can have so many charges, but those defending their clients will also look at them and try to also work against them. So I'm looking forward to that day that the two parties will be in court and then show their knowledge on the matter on the consideration. But before I sign off on this, I think I want to commend a Reverend for his position, and that is what we need to do. The Christendom produce the foundation of education in this country. So if for nothing at all, they are not, as they gave the schools to government, and now some of these schools are in disarray. I'm not sure the Christians want to see the way they are, the things that they started off, now where they are. So I expect them to support government to be able to lift up its game and wipe away those schools and the tree, which you, Joy, from describe in your program as well, schools of shame, and they are indeed school of shame. There are a lot of things we can do for ourselves here if we want to improve. We need money to be able to change, remove the pollutants in our water, to keep body and soul together and keep lives in this country. We need a lot in terms of road infrastructure. If you're talking about investment in the tourism industry, there are a lot. But the first thing first, we need to get the basics right.
Okay. Let me bring in Dr. Minta here. Doc, because you are a legal person, I mean, with all that has happened with the OSP's office in terms of this particular matter, do you have that conviction that 78 charges, we could possibly get something out of this for Ghana?
Well, thank you. The issue is this. Someone just took the air out of my soul. I mean, 72 charges looks quite
78.
huge, but 78 charges, sorry, looks quite huge, but it is not uncommon in law. I mean, in American jurisprudence, for instance, there's this popular saying that among defense lawyers that a prosecutor can indict, in this case, charge, even a hamburger sandwich. What that means is that the threshold to bring a charge or an indictment, if it is by a grand jury, is not too high. It's just probable cause. So you can lump it together. But you see, prosecutors have their own tactics. What prosecutors do, which defense lawyers know, is that they can charge you, for Christ's sake, everything under the sun. Now, they use most of those charges as a bargaining chip, fulcrum around just one single charge, which they know is their trump card. But again, they'll bring it voluminous. They'll make it so huge, preponderous, as if though everything is what they're going to go for. But they do this for so many reasons. Some is for plea bargain tactics, and some they maybe drop them. You know, so for me, it's not so much about the 78 charges. I mean, it is more about the substantive issue, which to me is about the procurement issue that the OSP alleges has been breached, the confidentiality issue, and also the monies that they said were spent with or without any work done. If they can go to court and prove this, then that's fine. But for me, the 78 charges is not something which is.
I've heard people say that this could travel years. I mean,
it's not always so, because in a courtroom, what normally happens is that, you know, these 78 charges or count are not going to be, you know, argued out or pleaded one by one. You know, sometime before, this is just incipients. At this moment, we are just at the incipient stage. If you go to trial, the prosecutor may end up dropping some of them, especially when they are duplicious, you know. And I don't believe that how we look at it that is going to drag for so long is going to be the charge. It's going to be the case, because there'll be concessions made somewhere along the line. And maybe perhaps it's a bargaining chip, like I said from the very beginning. And so I don't argue along the line that it's going to be a very long day in court. No, it's not going to be. They may drop most of these charges at the end of the day when they go to court, and then they have to face the reality.
Okay. And the reality will be?
The reality will be the substantive issue. You go to court, the rules of the game are played, and then you go by evidence. So if the evidence does not support all the 78 charges, will you? No, you don't want to make yourself a mimicry, a mockery. And so you go by holding the trump card that you have. The hold will be on the most important charges that you think that when you go to court, you can win. And that is what exactly the OSP is going to do. They're not going to parade 78 charges. No, I don't think so.
Could this be another Opuni case where it travels for so many years with no conclusion?
Well, the presumption from the very beginning has been that things were at a stage where the trial will come very quickly. I remember the public commentaries that the OSP came into the public domain to make. And so for me, I felt like if you did not even charge, if you did not even indict in these matters, you don't go making so many presumptions and creating impression in the minds of people that you are all ready for court, you know. And then now with these 78 charges and how this thing is going to drag, I don't think that it's going to be so speedy as we expect. But I also think that the OSP may end up, you know, not going to court with all the 78 charges.
Okay, all right. Thank you very much. Yeah.
Back in the studio.
Yeah.
Rev, so I am quite curious. When you hear about the OSP, maybe when you hear the 78 charges or counts of charges, and you hear that it is the OSP that is leading this, what comes to mind? Oh, there we go again. Or there we have them. What's your general impression of the whole architecture of the OSP?
Thank you very much. I just want to mention that if you pick it from a layman's point of view, and that's what I want to try just to be able to get into the minds of those who are watching us who probably are struggling to even make a differentiation between the OSP, EOCO, and then the Attorney General's, Attorney General's office. So we're having a number of key officers today. That person is with EOCO, that person is OSP, and all of that. I think if you want to pick it from a layman's point of view, we as a public need a bit of clarity and education, understanding the functions of these different offices and how they are able to effectively push some of these charges through. I think that has to be very clearly established, because it's not be everyone that will be an expert at law, understanding what these offices do. But I might not be an expert in law, but I speak from a very basic knowledge of what the public thinks. That's what I'm trying to represent this morning. Interacting with people, either former government appointees or people appointees, I think there is a sense of, let me just use my words carefully, people are a bit careful. Because if you look at what is happening now, it sort of started so many years ago when we had a lot of political interventions by the military, predominantly around 1979. What happened? When at some point people were calling for let the blood flow. We know what happened in this country with the execution of the generals and all of that happens. We don't want to go back to that day. There's a public appetite to see prosecutions, to see that there is justice. People are even comparing modern day leadership, looking at what is happening in Burkina Faso with Captain Traore and all of that, and they want to see action. So there's an appetite for justice, and rightly so. And I think what is important here is that we must be able to differentiate clearly between what is a political witch hunt and what is a genuine corruption case. So that before we go into any wholesale number of charges, 78, 105, and all of that, we need to be able to clearly say, we know that there is a merit in this case, and this case will certainly go through. Because if you put 78 out there, and as we've heard already, and nobody at the end of the day ends up maybe being prosecuted, it makes a mockery of some of these offices, and it becomes almost a mere political witch hunt. And let me just borrow a few words from our former President Rawlings when he talks about greedy bastards. At some point, until we make politics financially unattractive for greedy bastards, Ghana is going nowhere. And I think that is where we need to get to, where if somebody even wants to make an attempt to steal, there should be some kind of fear that, look, I may be in power today, but in 4 years' time, I will not be there. Just as these people are going through today, the former appointees are going through today, someone will come for you one day. And I'm looking at you at the camera, you the appointee that's watching me this morning, telling you, we've got to be very mindful and make sure that we protect the public purse, because the country's losing trillions of dollars every year through corruption. And some of that money could go into hospitals, could go into the schools, could go into the needed roads. And it's very sad and sickening that we cannot promote our tourism, we cannot add value to our primary goods because of corruption. And this needs to be taken very, very carefully. And let's just drop on this. One of the, in recent times, one of our presidents that I think did a great job in terms of pushing through certain cases, at least he had the political moral high ground and will to push it, was President Kufuor. And I'm sure we're not saying that people should just be charged and dragged to court and prosecuted when they haven't done anything. But if it continues, each political party becomes a check on each other, and that in itself will bring some decorum into our national politics space.
But Rev, we say billions and trillions because of what we hear, right? That this person has committed that. But if they are not able to be convicted in court to say indeed they have stolen, are we right to say that people are still stealing when we are not able to prove in court that they have stolen monies?
I think sometimes people say you can steal but don't be caught. But we need to come to a point where we make public examples of people that have been caught. to become or to serve as a strong deterrent to people who are even thinking about it before they even execute it. And we know that these things unfortunately do happen, but you have to be mindful. Look at where you were before you came into power, and 3 months into, 6 months into, 4 years into, what has become of your life. And you know what? It also calls into question how we even fund our political campaigns. Because to whom much is given, much is required. If people are giving you money because they know that when you come into power, they will get the money from you, we need to start looking at all these things. We need to start looking at our campaigns. We need to start saying that, look, if people are sponsoring you, let's declare the donors. Let's have some transparency around our campaign process, because people have to struggle to get the money to campaign. They will have to struggle to get the money to pay off those loans and to satisfy where those monies came in from. And I think that's a cycle that we are putting ourselves in, where you have an MP. Every morning you wake up, you've got 50 people in front of your house. They need money for hospital. You are not a clinic. I mean, they are killing you. They are sending you to your early grave. Don't be happy about that. Because you get the money, but the money is still going. So at the end of the day, no one is losing. So no one is winning out. And then when you're sick, you have to fly out to hospital. We could have put that money into our own space, develop our hospital, develop our schools, develop our roads, and we'll be happy and proud of who we are as a Ghanaian. And I think it's a no-brainer that this whole discussion into prosecution, it has to start from our mental prosecution. We have to mentally prosecute ourselves and have a bit of moral courage to say it is time for this to stop.
Well, thank you, Rev. Kojo, you asked a very important question, and I want to go to Dr. Mensah on this. You asked that, well, we see year in, year out that there is a certain purported amount of money that somebody stole or that's been lost to corruption. But it doesn't really translate to they being prosecuted or recoveries. I mean, of course, just recently, the current Attorney General said that they're going to be recovering some amount of money or percentages from people like Dr. Dufour and others, right? But my question to you, Dr. Mensah, I mean, if you look at our legal frameworks, is it that in the spirit of fairness and democracy, we have formulated our laws in a way that easily gets people who are engaged in corruption to escape? Is that the case?
Well, I don't think so. I think we are just playing political circles when it comes to this whole enterprise of people who stole money while they were in office. And you bear with me, if you will, that it is always the opposing political party that comes to power. And whilst it is on the mantle, on the seat, then it goes on to investigate its predecessor. And the circus continues, you know, and it mind-boggling, you know, that a government in power cannot investigate its own. You know, and it's always that government has to leave power and another one has to come before the process of charges and etc. are even be formulated. You know, so that is the biggest problem that we have, not necessarily the laws. What we need as a nation is that consciousness, assertiveness, a type of leadership that will separate us from these circles. And I think I'm beginning to see some form of accountability in this current government. When you look at the Public Account Committee hearings and etc., and then all these unfounded, malfeasance issues and etc., and then the fortitude that the president has put forward, that if it is even members of his own political party that are found wanting at the wrong side of the law, he will prosecute. I think it's a clarion call that we all should support. And so what I am waiting for is for the president to walk the talk. That people, even within his own government, that whether they are MMCs, DCEs, whoever they are, when they are found that they have misappropriated funds, they should face the full rigors of the law.